Okay, so we're back with our second half with the Transfer Center and with Jack Segura. Let's see, we had a couple of questions during the break, and you want to lead us off into the newer directions?
So during the break, there were a few questions. I wanted to try to cover them. First one had to do with assist. So for those of you that have seen assist and may have checked it in the spring or years past, it does appear different. And I want to explain the process I take to look at assist information. I thought I'd do that with all of you. So if you go to their website, assist.org. Okay, so I have to give you a little bit of background. In 2016-17, assist was supported by a vendor, and that vendor year to year made changes across the board and updated agreements for all UCs and CSUs all in one time. So every summer, generally speaking, they would make those updates. Well, that vendor and the contract with the vendor ended at that point in 2016-17, and the state hired a different vendor. The vendor was given the task of doing the same process, and after a year's time, they were not able to make the update. They asked for more time, so they were given more time. So another year goes by, and again, they were not able to make an update. So now we're into the third year, and by then, the state had enough, so they got rid of that vendor, they hired a new vendor, and a new vendor has created this new homepage version, but the nuts and bolts of the information has not been universally updated for 1920. And for that reason, I go back to 16-17 when I'm looking at agreement information first. That's sort of like baseline for me. Okay, so I want to show that as an example. So if you can change that to 16-17, and then one turn for the institution, you can type in city, Hitesh, and then you'll be able to select City College in San Francisco. And then for an institution, one student was working on the agreement with UCLA. UCLA, you want to see that? Okay, let's put it in Los Angeles. Okay. And what was the major that you were interested in? Chemical engineering? Okay. Let's look up click on view agreements. And then for the search box, type in chemical. Okay, and select chemical engineering. Okay, so at this juncture, it's really important. There's a blue view agreement button. If you select that, then you'll see the 16-17 agreement information, right? So again, I usually go to that first. That's my baseline. Once I've done that though, they've offered these links here. It's UC Admissions website, CSU Updates website. If any changes have happened since 16-17, you want to check that, okay, and make that comparison, okay? Let's go ahead and click on view agreement, just so we see how this works. Okay, so typically on assist, you're going to see what is called articulation agreement, okay? So this is like a contract between CCSF, in this case UCLA, and the major here, chemical engineering. Right, so in the agreement, there typically is narrative information here that you want to read through, and I'm just kind of scanning this real quickly. Keep going. Okay, let's see. Okay, right here. So we're looking for key things like this. The following courses are required for admission. So earlier I said that you have to satisfy those minimum transfer requirements to the UC system or CSU system. That's still true. That's always step one. Okay. Step two is in this scenario, given that we've identified the campus and the major, now you're looking for this kind of information. And this is saying that these requirements on the left-hand side, which are classes at UCLA, okay? Anything under this heading is a must. You got to have those completed by the time you're ready for transfer. Otherwise, you're not going to be eligible for this major at UCLA, okay? The classes on the right-hand side are the equivalent courses at CCSF, okay? And when you're looking at these agreements, right, generally the strategy is for this particular box, which actually continues on the next page, huh? Can you scroll down? Yeah. So this is a kind of a continuation, but let's use this other box for the calculus just to make it simpler, I guess.
That's like in the old system, it would be clearer that it was one box because it was not a PDF, it was just that one website.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this is exactly the same as what we used to see in the old assist in terms of like the
Yes,
structure and
yes,
format.
Right. So they grabbed all of that, right, and still
Yeah.
available to students. But generally, the
Oh, is it
strategy
because we're looking at 16, 17?
16, 17,
But if
yes.
we looked at 19, 20, the format's
Format's
different?
different.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Okay, I see.
And that's where, for me at least, right, it's looking at this, because I know, 16, 17, that this was true. And then I'll go to those links to see if there have been any updates and changes. And that's the challenge in terms of this new version, right? It's not universally been updated. So now it's kind of a piecemeal way of approaching to see for UCLA, this particular major, is 16, 17 still holding true?
Yeah.
Or have there been any changes to it since, right? And that's the challenge.
So if you go to the 19, 20 part,
Yeah.
Does Assist let you know if it's been updated or not? Like, is there,
Yes,
it's
it
clear
will
about
say,
that?
It will either provide 1920,
Uh-huh.
or it will say it's defaulting to like 16, 17.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll tell you.
But my preference is going here, again, just to have a good sense of where we can start in terms of conversation and then kind of go from there, right? So I'm not going to kind of go into this too much. This can be confusing. But generally, it is per box going left to right. Okay? And if you need any help going through these agreements, and certainly see counselors, and we'll try to read it with you, see if we can make sense of it as well. Let's go back to the previous screen. Yeah, let's click on this UC Admissions website link here. Okay, so in this particular example, because it was UCLA, then we'll click on that link, which will take us here, and then we'll go to the left-hand side, in this case, select Los Angeles. Okay, so now this takes us to their website, and now you've got to dive in, right? It's more complicated, but that's generally what we're saying that you need to do to, again, understand if you want to be eligible for this major at UCLA, you have to know what's required of the major. You want to know if there have been any changes and updates. Unfortunately, that's kind of the process. Okay. Yes.
Just to clarify, if you go to Assist and you go through the process and you find a school and a major, and you look at the 1920 for all of that. If it says 1920 at the top of the page, that is the correct, perfectly valid, updated version.
Well, what I'm saying is for me, right, because 1920 was not universally updated across the system, right? My fallback is 16, 17, because I know that that was the last time that was done across the board for everyone, right? And so that's my starting point. If you want to start with 1920, then it may say that there is no agreement for 1920, so default is 16, 17, but it will say that. It should say that, right? But I'm taking the position of I'm going to change the setting from 1920 to 16, 17, just so that I know that there's commonality. And then if you want to see if there have been any changes, right, then that's a process that I can take. And this has all been since the summer. The idea is that, little by little, the universities are trying to update your information, and it might be available, but because it's not consistent, that's why I'm taking it to 17. Okay, so that was Assist. And then the other question had to do with San Jose State. Can you, let's do a Google search for San Jose State Impaction, so SJSU Impaction. Go ahead and click on that. And then let's see, go down a little bit. Okay, so we can look at this one first. It's Fall 19 Impaction Results page. Okay, you can scroll down. All right, you can stop right there. Oh, that's odd. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is freshman. Go back one page.
Oh, sorry.
One page. Then scroll down more. I'm sorry, transfer.
This one?
Yeah. Okay, let's go down again. Okay, so these are all of their majors. They're all impacted, and they're providing a GPA for each major. So let's take electrical.
Okay.
Okay, then click on the C below. Okay. Let's go down again. Okay, so this is saying, in this example, right, it's a combination of a certain GPA and a certain number of major prep courses. All right, so you need, again, minimum eligibility to the CSU system, and for this campus and this major, a combination of a certain GPA and a combination of certain major prep. Okay, so let's go back again one page. One more. Sorry. Oh, read that other tab. I'm sorry. For San Jose State.
Right there?
Okay, reduce that down. I need to try to find where it says program specific on the right hand side. This right here. Click that. And scroll down again. Oh, stop right there. I'm sorry. Go up one. Go up a little bit more. And click on this one here. And scroll down. I think this is it. Yeah. All right. So all of their major, all of their impacted majors rather, these particular ones are the ones that are going to require a certain major prep. So again, we'll go to electrical here. All right. So now it's listing classes here. On that previous slide, or previous page, previous page where it showed a certain GPA that was required, these were the 4 classes at that time that they were requiring. These are San Jose State classes. You go to Assist to see what our equivalent is at CCSF. Okay. Now, for fall 20, they've added 3 more. So they're increasing the degree of difficulty. They're saying they're expecting, right, certain major prep to be done with a certain GPA combination. This is kind of detail that you need to know about. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, that was San Jose. And the last question was, if I can go over TAP in the UC system. So let's do a search for UC TAP application. Okay, click on the first. Okay. So this is TAP. I forgot the student that had that question, but this is TAP for UCLA. Or sorry, TAP for UC rather. TAP serves multiple purposes in my mind. This is one. So for students that are maybe new to transfer in terms of the process, right? The UC system is encouraging students to start by using this website as a planning tool. So that term by term, you can sort of plan out the classes that you want to take or need to take to meet minimum transfer requirements, to do the major prep, because you've decided on a particular major at a particular campus, right? And if you wind up deciding that I want to submit a tag application to one of the 6 UC tag campuses, is through this website. This website is basically looking for your academic history only. In the regular UC application, the one that students are working on now, for those that want to transfer fall of next year, that's the one that has the 3 parts to it. The academic history piece, but also the personal insight questions, the extracurricular activities. This one is only looking for your academic history information. Okay? So, combination of planner, combination of tag application, only wanting academic history. And if you were to want to do a UC application and you started with the planner, where you put in all of your academic history, that regular application will ask you, did you do a planner? And do you want to copy all this academic history from the planner into the regular application? If you say yes, we'll do that all for you. So that piece will be done. Okay. So this is the planner, the AP.
Can the planner be used as a bit of a substitute to Assist? Like, does it guide you in like saying what you could take? No, it's just a record.
It's just a record.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's no better than like your transcript in a way.
It basically needs to mirror the student's transcript, actually.
Right.
But the beauty of this is that, again, and I would have to sign on, but if I signed on, you would see at the top, I think it says apply for tag. So at that point, you click that link, and now it's going to go through the steps for the student to say, I want to apply to this tag campus, this tag major. Here are the tag requirements, and I believe that I qualify because, yes, I've got all these done.
Got it.
And when you, again, do the regular UC application, what the student must do, if the student says, yes, I did a planner, and yes, I want to copy all the academic history over, it will do that.
Then that makes it
In
easy.
one fell swoop. Okay. Okay. So that's the planner. There's also a TAP acronym at UCLA, And in the Transfer Center, we do a TAP certification for UCLA, but only to the majors in the College of Letters and Science. Okay. Berkeley also has a TAP, with a very different purpose. But this is the one that I think that the students asked about. Okay.
And this tap is unrelated to those two taps, or there's some connection.
Well, it's all part of the UC system, but generally I would say they're all separate entities.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Okay. I'm good.
Slides?
Yes, slides.
Uh-oh. Watch out. Here they
All
come.
right. So no one was interested in applying to a private university, but I'll just mention this. So if you happen to have an interest.
Or change your mind.
Sorry?
Or change your mind.
City College of San Francisco, we have agreements with some private universities. Also agreements with some out of state. Let's show them, and then they can decide if they want to explore that or come to counseling, and we can go into that as well.
Okay.
So it was that CCSF articulation page. And back up. Yeah, one more. Okay. Then on the right-hand side, the articulation of private and out of states, right there. Okay, so if you're considering a California private university, then I would suggest that with the counselor's help, you go to this link, select that link, and then you'll see about 20 to 30 universities listed here that we have agreements with. So that could include places like Santa Clara. You scroll down more, you'll see USC, depending on the major, University of San Francisco and others, right? So if it happens to cross your mind, I would suggest check this or ask a counselor to check that with you so that you can see what that agreement consists of. And typically, these are what they call course to course. So if you take English 1A here, for example, then it's going to be equivalent to English 1 or 100 or something at that particular university. You know it's going to transfer. You know you have transferable units. If the university you're considering is not here at all, then all you can really do is go to that university's website, look up transfer, look up application deadlines. If they are asking for certain requirements, you're not going to know what's going to transfer. And so you want to reach out to them to see if they're willing to work with you. They're looking at your transcripts to help you understand if you're meeting minimum requirements or not. But if we have that listed here, then definitely want to take advantage of that information. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up just so that you can kind of see comparison. Oops, I'm sorry, too fast.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Now everyone knows the secret answer.
This is full-time status, right? So Free City, hopefully you're taking advantage of that if you qualify. And then for CSUs, it's about 7,400. This is an approximate figure. It may vary depending on which campus we're talking about, but that's an approximate number. UC is pretty steady at 14,000. And then private, as you can see, and as you might have imagined, is very expensive. If you were sort of entertaining this, then we're hoping that at least you'd be willing to talk to representatives from the private universities. So on the handouts that I gave to you, let me go to them. The green one is our calendar. The calendar shows students when we have representatives visiting in the transfer center. And everyone is welcome to talk to the representatives. And generally, these are the ones that are local, of course. They're the ones that we see most often. But it is an opportunity to talk to folks at the universities if you have any questions regarding their campus. So I would encourage you to consider that. And then for those of you, when you're ready to apply on the flip side, we do offer what we call open labs to help students do both applications, the UC application, the CSU application. So that's been underway for the past week or so. And then we will have guest speakers from the UC system offering workshops on the personal insight questions. So whether you're going to apply now or not, you're welcome to come to these workshops to hear from them what you should be including in your answers if and when you decide to apply to UC.
Do you have like a list that I could sign up for those, or do I have to just go to the website? Like, do you make announcements saying, hey, this person's coming this week, that person's coming next week?
We don't make announcements. No, so we just simply update the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do that regularly. Yeah. But that's an idea. Announcements.
Because then I could trickle it down to all my classes too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll mention it to Grace.
Don't get me in trouble with Grace.
So speaking of handouts, since we're on that subject, just want to mention the pink sheet. This is an example of an agreement with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. In my estimation, maybe the most competitive C-suite campus in the system. And if you're considering applying to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, then you have the assist information, but this is sort of a unique campus in that I would recommend, strongly recommend, that you go to their website, you look up what is called selection criteria for transfer, in this case to these particular majors. And what you'll notice on the back side are the required major prep, right? And at the bottom, desired, okay? So as we saw earlier, right, with UCLA or even San Jose State, you have to have, in this example, the required courses by time of transfer. Otherwise, you're not eligible for consideration to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And because it's such a competitive campus, right, you really want to have the desired courses also, if at all possible. Okay, so this is just one example. If you're considering this campus, you want to look to selection criteria on their website. That's the key. Okay. The white sheet is just giving you a reminder of your options in terms of transfer. And the flip side, the assist.org, right, website is a reminder. If you're considering transferring to a CSU or UC, look up the information. Yes, it's not sort of easy at this point to understand what is most current in terms of major prep requirements. But see counselors, hopefully we can assist you in that process, okay? And then lastly, the yellow sheet is just a reminder of our services in the transfer center. True or false? You may have already saw this, so I can't afford to go, right? Okay, we're suggesting that it's false because if you have any thoughts of considering a private university, we are encouraging students to at least talk to folks at those universities. If they're in the campus center, great. If not, if you want to reach out to contact information on that particular university website, because you want to engage in conversation to find out if I am considering applying for transfer, my concern is cost. Can you help sort of alleviate some of my concerns, right? You want to try to have that conversation. Hopefully, they have folks in their financial aid office that are willing to speak with you, and given your situation, be able to give you a sense of what you might be eligible for in terms of grants, scholarships, and give you a sense of what your true out-of-pocket costs might be. And it might surprise you. So we would encourage you to consider the privates as a possible option. Okay. All right, so for a couple of campuses that we already kind of touched upon, San Jose State, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the number of applicants, very top, you kind of see those numbers. And then when you look at the number of those who said offers of admission, right? So San Jose State, that's a pretty fair number. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, it's a much smaller number. When it comes to those that actually enrolled, right, you got 419 as opposed to 190. Just a couple of examples, but again, giving you a sense of when it comes to transfer, we encourage you to apply broadly. Give yourself as many options as possible. Towards the beginning, I mentioned that we're going to consider locally San Francisco State. Again, their engineering majors non-impacted. Just meet minimum requirements, good to go. But if you're going to consider San Jose, or Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, or I'll show you in a moment, UC Berkeley. So UC Berkeley, these are percentages of those that apply and wound up getting offers of admission. And in highlighted here we had in 2018, 60 of our students applied, 13 received offers. That percentage I thought was excellent. You did a great job. So it can be done. But again, remember we saw earlier, GPA is really important. And for campuses like Berkeley, it is not just how you do in terms of your grades, but they look at your application holistically. Getting back to your answer to the personal insight questions, that is going to be looked at very closely. The extracurricular activities, demonstrations of leadership, right? Hopefully you're doing that, be well-rounded as a student. That's what they're looking for. Okay.
See, so me making you write essays was not just about torturing you. It was about helping you get your writing, start working on your writing. Because I think those questions have a huge impact on your ability to get into a super competitive school like Cal. GPA is important, but the way you answer those questions, the way you articulate, your personal situation and why why should the school let you go there? Right? And advocating for yourself is something you got to try to get good at and try to do it in writing. Super important.
And I just updated this information from a previous year. These numbers continue to rise. That's been the trend for UCLA. It's just highly, highly competitive. While we do have students that transfer to UCLA, I don't have the breakdown of what majors they were admitted to. I do for Berkeley because I've asked them specifically, and they've been nice enough to do that, provide that information. But in general, you can see it's just a difficult, situation. So you can certainly aim for this, but again, consider broadly. Give yourself as many options as possible. Okay. Transfer admission guarantee. All right. So these are the 6 UC campuses. And as I mentioned before, 9 in the system. Just remember the 3 that do not participate, and all the rest do, right? So again, Berkeley and Los Angeles, San Diego do not participate. If you're going to tag for a fall admission, you can only tag to one of these campuses. Okay. So for example, if you choose to tag to Davis, then you can still apply to these campuses as a part of the regular application process. Remember, I mentioned one UC application, all the campuses listed, you can check them all off. If you're going to tag, right, you can only choose one of these campuses to tag to. In addition, I wanted to mention that we do also have guaranteed agreements to HBCUs. This MOU stands for Memorandum of Understanding. So not all HBCUs participate in this guaranteed agreement. I did want to mention this in case anyone is interested to come to either the transfer center or talk to your counselors if you're wondering about this option. Okay. So here's one example of how you may qualify for a tag. The majority of our students, they're tagging to Davis. In fact, this is the only tag campus that counselors, myself, the others in the transfer center, and a couple of others on the campus, do the review of the tags to Davis. We do that on a preliminary basis. And after we're done with that preliminary review, we forward the tag applications to Davis. They do their full review as well. So for them, they're looking for at least 30 units completed. Let me back up. Oh, I'm sorry. So at the time of submission, I guess that's my point. So the tag applications are actually due first in the application cycle. That planner, as we saw earlier, the transmission planner, that's the website you go to submit your tag application. That is due in September. September the year before you plan to transfer. So that comes first. The regular UC application is due in November. You must do that regardless of whether you did a tag application or not. The regular UC application must be done. That's done in November. At that point, actually in September, I'm sorry, in September, you must have at least 30 transferable units completed to be eligible for a tag. That's one of the tag requirements. And something that's going to be new starting fall of next year for the fall 21 admission is that we're going to be looking for a 3.4 GPA overall to see if the student's eligible for a Davis tag in engineering specifically. And then there's major prep to do. all of the classes listed on assist for the Davis engineering major must be done in full. And for all those classes, we're looking for a 3.2 GPA in those classes. Okay. Question?
Repeat that one more time.
About 3.2.
For what?
I'm sorry.
So you said a 3.4 GPA, and what is 3.2?
Okay. So 3.4 is your overall UC GPA. That's what's going to be needed going into fall 21 admission, which means that a year from now, a little less than a year from now, the student must show that come September, when they submit their tag application, if you're choosing Davis as the campus and an engineering major, you must have a 3.4 UC GPA at that point. If you've completed any classes in the major, you must have a 3.2 GPA in the major prep courses at that time. Okay, and those two GPAs must be maintained all the way until you transfer.
Is it that 3.2 was a requirement if you did your tag this year, and 3.4 will be your requirement if you do your tag next year?
Yeah, so currently it's a 3.3
Oh,
overall.
3.3. Okay.
It's changing to 3.4.
Okay.
The 3.2, that is currently the case for the major
For
prep,
the major, got
and
it.
that
Okay.
won't change.
I see. So the overall requirement is changing.
That's correct.
The major prep requirement is still 3.2.
Still the same.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, for engineering and Davis.
So confusing.
It is. It can be.
Another question.
Yes.
So you said it has to be maintained.
Yes.
So let's say I got like a 3.3 one semester and a 3.7 semester. I would not be out. I cannot apply for this.
So it's cumulative. You're talking about cumulative?
So it is cumulative.
Cumulative.
Over the amount of, for the 30 courses, not just like that's be maintained like 3.4 every single semester.
It's cumulative. Yeah. So So if we look at, let's say, this current cycle, right? At the end of the summer, we're checking to see how many transferable units were completed. We're looking for at least 30. And for engineering majors at Davis, currently we're looking for a 3.3 overall, which will become 3.4 overall a year from now. And then in the major prep, 3.2 now, that will remain the same going forward, 3.2 as far as in the major. And those GPAs are cumulative to this point and continue on at the end of this semester and at the end of next semester. So cumulative. And just by comparison, these are other tag campuses. These are, different GPAs that they're requiring. So general rule, I would say, is if you're considering trying to qualify for a tag, the keys are you're a year away from transfer, that at the end of the summer of that, at that point in time, you must have your 30 UC transferable units. If you have a GPA for transfer of about 3, then potentially you could qualify depending upon the campus you have in mind. Another factor is what's called whether the major is selective or non-selective for tag purposes. Engineering majors at Davis, they're all selective, which means that all the major prep must be done by the time you transfer, and as I stated before, is with a certain GPA in those classes, right? So those are sort of the major factors, and then some other detail here that are specific to those particular campuses to be tag eligible. There is a handout that we have in the transfer center we call the tag matrix. It's also available online if you Google UC tag matrix. That gets updated once a year, and it's a summary of those 6 tag campuses and how you qualify for a tag. Okay. And just again, a summary of the services that we offer in the transfer center. As you saw on the calendar, right, we can assist you with your applications. We have access to computers if you would like to do it either in our office, or we have an open lab available that we do the open labs in. We do education plans with students, not typically in the fall because we're trying to assist students with their application for transfer in the fall, but definitely in the spring we're available to do that. And if you are anxious, you want an education plan right away, then we would recommend you go to one of the other counseling offices, and they should be able to do education plans with you in the fall semester. We just finished up our annual college fair. That was in late September, but every year around this time, it's held in the cafeteria. About 45 different universities are represented. All the UCs represented at that time. from 6 to a dozen different CSUs, many private schools. So it's a good opportunity to, one fell swoop, talk to many representatives about their universities, about the competitiveness for particular majors. And any questions you have, let's say regarding financial aid. We do have these workshops, as you saw on the calendar. And we just took this on, this cross-registration with UC Berkeley at Mills. It was handled by one of my colleagues who retired. So the Transfer Center took it on this semester. If you're interested in that program, you can stop by our office. We give you information about that. We do support the honors program, as we talked about earlier. And then as far as scholarships, this particular one, this Jack King Clinton Scholarship, is a national scholarship that students, if they're maintaining a high GPA, this is like a 3.5 GPA, then potentially they can be eligible for, I believe it was $40,000 a year. And so I just want to point out that we do offer that kind of information as well in our office.
We've had City College recipients of that in the past.
We have, that's correct, yes.
You can do it, like Landis says.
Any other final questions that you have regarding transfer, any of the slides? And if not, you're always welcome to come to the Transfer Center. We're 132, just down the hall. They're closed for the rest of today, but you'll be there, you know, Friday, for days. Fridays is normally just Friday morning. Okay.
Any questions, guys? Let's thank Justin. All right, we'll have, there's a sign-in sheet. Where's the sign-in sheet, guys? Oh, great. Did everyone in the middle get it? Oh, somebody send it back to the middle, please.